Julie Krone-Jockey. Every August, the best horses and jockeys gather at the Saratoga Racecourse in Saratoga Springs, New York. In 1993, Julie Krone was there. She was one of the world's best jockeys, male or female. Krone was having an excellent Saratoga meet. One day, she rode home 5 winners. Only 2 jockeys in history have ever done that at Saratoga. It was August 30, the last day of the meet. Krone had already started packing and getting ready to leave town. She had only 2 mounts that day in the 3rd and 7th races. In the 3rd race, she was scheduled to ride a big filly named Seattle Way. For a pro like Julie Krone, it seemed like just another race. It would start out routinely, but it wouldn't end that way. The horses broke from the starting gate smoothly. Krone kept Seattle Way on the outside and out of traffic, slowly urging the horse to give her more speed. Krone had Seattle Way in perfect position as the field rounded the far turn. Then, without warning, the horse on her inside veered out and bumped into Seattle Way. "I don't remember falling," Krone said later, but as the crowd gasped, she went flying. Krone was fortunate she wasn't killed. She landed on her ankle and then tumbled head over heels. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted Two Is Trouble thundering straight at her. The 1,200-pound horse trampled right over Krone, stepping on her chest. Luckily, she was wearing a flak jacket. Otherwise, the blow might have been fatal. After the racehorse ran over her, there was nothing, Krone said. No horses, no thunder, no whirlwind of color, just the dry turf and my back, in pain. The ambulance arrived within a few seconds. Paramedics rushed Krone to the hospital. Her ankle was a real mess. She needed 2 operations to put it back together. Doctors had to insert 2 plates and 14 screws in her ankle. Krone would not ride in another race for nearly 9 months. At the time of her accident, Krone was riding on top of the world. In 1989, she had been on the cover of Sports Illustrated. In 1991, she became the first female jockey to ride in the Belmont Stakes, part of racing's famous Triple Crown. And in the spring of 1993, she won the Belmont Stakes aboard Colonial Affair. She was looking forward to riding her 3,000th winner. Only 61 jockeys in American history had won that many races. Krone had worked hard for her success. Her line of work was fraught with danger. Horse racing is the only sport where an ambulance follows right behind the competitors. It's one of the few sports where people check to see how many competitors finish the race. That's because once in a while someone, such as Julie Krone on that awful August day, doesn't reach the finish line. If being a jockey is hard, then being a female jockey is even harder. Today, men and women compete on equal terms. That is, female jockeys compete directly against men. Until 1968, state racing commissions refused to allow women to ride at all. In 1970, jockey Diane Crump broke new ground by being the first female to ride in the Kentucky Derby. Soon, other women also began to ride. Most, however, rode in minor tracks. They did not compete at the major tracks against the best in the sport. Many trainers felt that women, with their gentle touch, were adequate for working with younger horses. These same trainers did not believe women were strong enough to handle older, stronger horses. Julie Krone began her career during these transitional years. She had learned to ride even before she could walk. She rode horses around her family's farm in Michigan. Often she jumped fences and rode standing up in the saddle. At the age of 5, she won a ribbon at a county fair horse show, competing in the 21 and under age division. Little Julie had bigger dreams than winning ribbons at county fairs. She wanted to race. "I was always going to be a jockey, and a great one too," she recalled. By the age of 16, Krone had left high school and had begun her life as a jockey. Many trainers wanted nothing to do with a girl 4 foot 10 inches tall and weighing barely 100 pounds. Some were willing to give her a chance. Slowly, Krone proved just how good she could be. In 1982, she won 155 races in Atlantic City. Her record was exceptional enough to earn her the riding title at the track, making her the first woman to ever win such a title at a major track. She won the title again in 1983. Then she began to move up the ladder, riding at bigger and bigger tracks. At last, in 1987, she moved to Aqueduct in New York City, where she faced top jockeys in the sport. On opening day, Krone rode 4 winners. It was clear that she could handle the best. One reporter wrote, "She is an athlete who must be compared not only not to other female riders, but in the context of her performance against men. By then, Krone was well on her way to earning her nickname as the Band-Aid Kid. In 1983, she fell during a race and broke her back. It took her 4 months to recuperate. In 1989, she fell again, this time breaking her left wrist. Her doctors had to insert a plate and 14 screws. Krone lost 8 months of racing. Then, in 1993, came the near-fatal spill at Saratoga. Despite the pain and the danger, Julie Krone didn't stop racing. After the Saratoga accident, she spent more than 8 months recovering. Then, while still needing crutches to walk, she climbed back into the saddle. What racing teaches you is to go forward, 365 days, until you fall off, she explained. You never have time to look back. In 1995, Krone fell once again. This time, she fractured her left wrist. She lost 2 more months, but then, as before, returned to racing. At the time of her return, she had already won several $1 million and thousands of races. When asked why she didn't just retire, she explained that something inside kept her going back to the track despite the injuries. Something kept her fighting for victories. And what was that something? That something, she said, is simply me.